Doug Haynes speaking?
Afterwards.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for confirming that. Daniel Wright of the Silverstein Law Firm on behalf of La Mirada Avenue Neighborhood Association of Hollywood. Let the record reflect that we have submitted to the record today our March 22nd, 2016 analysis of the city's proposed use of an addendum in this case, as well as about several hundred pages of supporting evidence and documents that has been signed off by the clerk. In this case, council members, obviously this issue already has kind of generated emotion. The community is clearly pretty upset about the city proceeding in a way in which is continuing in a lawless path, a path now that seems to be focused solely upon legalizing a building that was arrogantly and illegally constructed against the law at the full financial risk of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So it's not as if Target couldn't survive being required to comply with the law by making the building modified to comply with the law. But the biggest problem, I want to focus upon on the environmental issue. Never mind, we talked about the policy issue of trying to legalize illegal buildings. It looks bad in the press. But more significantly, if a staff insists that this proposed action today only applies to Target, which we contend it does not, but even if it does, even if that's true, then there is indeed a spot zoning which essentially confers a special benefit upon Target to the exclusion of the benefit of other similarly situated landowners nearby, and that is a basis for invalidation of your actions again. But we contend that the overall evidence is clear from the record and the addendum that this is that the creation of sub-area F is a new project. Nowhere in the original EIR did it say that, quote, it's establishing a land use regulations development standards and design guidelines for new sub-area F for large-scale highway-oriented commercial designation. You won't find that in the original EIR, but that's the proposed action. So in other words, the notice of preparation and all of the public comment that was submitted on the original EIR never, ever looked at the idea of creating new sub-area F. In fact, the project description specifically states that goes into details about how the project, with exceptions to the specific plan, would quote-unquote comply with the specific plan. That is now obsolete. So this is a new project. It is a new action. It has never been exposed to public comment and the rigors of environmental review. And for that reason, the use of an addendum is inappropriate because this is a new project, not an addendum. You can't weave it into the original proceeding and ignore the fact that this option was never analyzed. Additionally, there's overwhelming evidence that this creation of sub-area F applies to more than just Target, in that the language that's proposed for the changes in front of you includes a requirement for transitional heights where the project is adjacent to residential neighborhoods. Target is not adjacent to a residential neighborhood, which means those transitional requirements that are being created as part of this action that clearly would apply to other types of projects that could qualify under this sub-area F and not to Target. So that's evidence that you're creating something that applies to multiple future projects. You haven't analyzed that, and you haven't disclosed that to the public, and that is inappropriate. I also want to bring to your attention that in the letter of determination that was issued by the Planning Commission, it still says that on condition 47 with regard to the child care requirement, that it needs to be resolved prior to issuance of the certificate of occupancy. That is inconsistent with SNAP. You should be changing that to make it a requirement to be resolved prior to the issuance of building permits. For all of these reasons and the reasons submitted in our papers today, we would ask that you send this project back and require a compliant project to be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you.